Okay, want to feel stronger in your 40s than you did in your 20s? Well, this episode is your blueprint. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Eric from PrimeX, a former doctor turned longevity and performance expert. We dive into why muscle is the organ of longevity. I talk about this all the time, so it's great to have someone else on the show to go a little bit more in depth. Dr. Eric talks about how to naturally boost your testosterone, when to consider hormone therapy, when to consider peptides, and other simple habits to just create lasting vitality. If you ever wondered whether or not you're doing enough, this is the one for you. Let's dive in. So before we start, I wanted to show you my school community I'm always talking about, but this is where I'm spending all my time. This is where I'm answering people's questions. We're brainstorming, doing coffee chats. I'll be starting a Q&A on Tuesday or Thursday, where basically I'm just giving out free personal training. First come, first serve. And this is the platform I'm trying to grow. This is where I want everyone to join who's over 40, looking at getting overall health, a lean body, and possibly some low-level biohacking. So if you're at all interested, get in while you can, and then we'll just grow from there. So other than that, let's get on with the episode. Dr. Eric, thank you for coming on my show. Can't wait to hear someone else in the field talk about their perspective on how they did with their fitness journey and their careers. I know we talked briefly before we started recording about hormones, hormone therapy, peptides, longevity, just everything that encompasses with building more muscle and all that kind of stuff. So before we get into kind of your company, PrimeX, my audience always likes to get to know the guests a little bit before we get into the good stuff. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, cool, Brad. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. So enjoyed our chat beforehand. So this is going to be fun. So yeah, to everybody out there listening, happy to help out. I was telling Brad, basically what I do is like the catch-all phrase of health and performance optimization. So everything about improving vitality, helping my clients live longer, stronger, better, perform better, physically, mentally, sexually, spiritually, in every way, shape, or form. That's what I do. And my niche is what I trademarked, my trademark phrase of like muscle medicine, because there's not a lot of people really talking about muscle as an organ. And I think more and more people are starting to talk about, but I've been doing it for the last couple of years now, just saying muscle is the organ of longevity. It's actually an endocrine organ, kind of like your thyroid gland, right? So it's very important to optimize that because we lose it as we get older, and then we lose muscle, we gain fat. So my goal is to flip the script. Everybody's like always thinking about like lose weight, do this. I'm like, build your body up, make it stronger, faster, better. And then fat, metabolism, everything will take care of itself. So anyway, that's what I do. So yeah, I'm interesting. I've got my Thor shirt on. I'm a big superhero guy. I've always been a comic book guy, geek, and when I was a kid. And so I'm big into superheroes. So I like to say, what's my secret origin story? So yeah, I used to be an ER doctor. So I speak to everything I speak about. I speak from both sides of the fence because I was there. A lot of people get in the preventative space and that's where they've always been. But I've been on the other side of the traditional Western medicine medical model as a board certified emergency medicine physician. I did that for many years. I was actually the director of my ER for a few years and seen it all. I've done it, learned how to handle anything and everything that goes through the door. It's a lot of crazy stories, but I've always been involved in health nutrition. I've been an athlete my whole life. I wrestled. I learned how to manipulate my body composition, my training. My parents are both teachers, so I love to learn. And then I've done martial arts and just I've always been active, always learned from my parents, especially my dad, and learned to manage his cholesterol and health. And I learned about health and nutrition at a early age. So I just incorporated into what I did and when I talk to people, even in the ER, try to give them tips and tricks. But I guess what flipped the script was that I'm seeing people more and more ill at a younger age. When you start seeing people in their 30s on like 10 medications, overweight, disabled, just going downhill fast. I'm like, dude, this could have been prevented if you just would have done this. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way, right? So I got into the preventive side of things and I really started learning. I got out of the ER, started with another clinic. We did some other kind of cosmetic type stuff and a lot of like stem cell treatments and got into more of the preventive side. And I got into hormone replacement, hormone optimization therapy, learned about the power of endocrinology, what we called functional endocrinology. And then I started learning about peptides. This is back before it was really hot. Everybody's talking about it now. My colleagues and I have been doing this and talking about this for years. We learned from the best of the best years ago when it was first coming around. I don't know, over 5 years or more now, learning about medical peptide therapies and how they basically, what I do is like what I call it, we start with like cellular medicine, right? Treating the body at the level of the cell. Cause that's what else. So we talk about redox and longevity pathways and all this geeky biochemistry stuff, but I just distilled it as health and performance because everything we do, it affects those things, right? So anyway, so I tied in hormones with peptides and then I started learning about all the longevity protocols, gut health, microbiome, genetic, and there's so many things to learn. And I just try to distill it all together. My colleagues and I'm part of a couple mastermind groups and a couple of groups that are in a bunch of docs all around the world. We all collaborate about longevity path protocols and it's just fun. There's so much to learn. You just can't learn it all. There's so much, but I try to tie it all in together. And so most of my avatar, my target clientele is typically like people 40s and 50s and up, mostly because I get some young people. I've actually got a handful of people in their 20s and 30s already having hormonal issues or seen a lot of long haul COVID. I've seen vaccine injuries, autoimmune conditions, a lot of crazy weird stuff I'm seeing with all the crap we've had going on the last 5-6 years, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening more and more, I'm starting to see, as I was telling you beforehand, I'm seeing people that are having hormonal dysfunction and deficiencies at a younger age. Normally we wouldn't start seeing guys and women with low hormone levels until maybe their 50s and 60s. Now I'm seeing in 30s, 40s, definitely 50s, just because we live in a very toxic world. We're surrounded by Wi-Fi. We're inside all day. We're not in the sun. We're not moving. Toxins everywhere, glyphosate everywhere, our nutrients depleted out of the soil, just stress, so many bad things. And it's bad, but I guess it's more opportunity to help people. But that's where it took me. So now I had a brick and mortar clinic here in Ohio, but now I do telemedicine all across the country. And I've got patients all around across the country. I've even done some consultations with people in Europe and the Middle East and Australia and stuff. So it's a lot of fun meeting a lot of cool people and trying to provide a lot of value. So hopefully I can give some tips and tricks and some value to your listeners too.
Just like health optimization in general, let me just summarize what I know. You're eating clean, meaning you're getting enough protein. You're not eating processed foods. In my mind, you're throwing a little bit of intermittent fasting in there, just get some autophagy, even though the world of health and exercise comes with that already. You're getting your workouts, not destroying your body, but you're building muscle and the protein helping you build that too. Your mental health's a big game. Sleep definitely helps with that. Other methods like breathing, that kind of stuff to ground you more and keep your nervous system from flaring out. So in my mind, that's health optimization. And then you start supplementing it on top of that and other things. But is there anything I'm missing in that equation before we get to some of the higher level stuff?
Yeah, that's the meat and the potatoes. And that's what the crux of it is in lifestyle. Everybody wants the cool new hack, or like we were talking about earlier, everybody wants to listen to what's the cool new gadget or supplement or peptide. Like, yeah, those are cool, but those are like the icing on the cake. You got to get your lifestyle dialed in. It's like, if you're not doing those things, I can have the magic pill and it's not going to work very well, or at least not as well as it should. But yeah, nutrition, lifestyle, stress, and a lot of people, and I'm really big on two other things too, is one is like that kind of the mental game. And as well as number two, the circadian path. I've learned a lot about quantum biology in the last year. So I'm really big on circadian rhythms, getting outside and aligning our bodies with the sun, learning about structured water on our cells, infrared power of light on our cells, how it transmits energy and enables our mitochondria to create its own energy, create its own water, and to enable pathways in our body to get better and heal. So that big, and the most of that's free, right? Getting outside, looking at the sun, moving all throughout the day, grounding, looking at the sun in the evening, getting off all the electronics at night, turning off that blue light. Everybody, for a while there was like, oh, that's a bunch of woo, but now there's more and more science backing this up. So I'm big on that with my patients. I have little protocols I'll give them. And like you're talking about like spirituality, breath work, and the inner game, it's like, there's a lot to that. Science has clearly proven that the power of like breath work and meditation, if you read like psycho-cybernetics or read Tony Robbins, all these things, they talk about how you can change your state by changing your physiology, by changing your perspective. I'm big on Stoic philosophy, right? How you perceive things and how you internalize it. That it's amazing what you can do when you reframe things in your mind, when you say things to yourself in a certain way, you move and sit and position your body in a certain way. You could read people and talk to people and really make them feel better just by doing those things. It's pretty amazing. A lot of people are like, what? But there's a lot to it. So I talk to people about that too. So those are the big ones. But yeah, like you said, you got to eat, you got to move, you got to sleep, manage your stress. You got to do those things. It's just foundational. If you're not sleeping, you're not doing that, then all the medicines aren't going to help you. But that's a great place to start for sure. And there's a lot there, right? There's hours of content right there. And as probably a lot of your clients, like they're doing it. They say they're doing it, but they're not. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, you kind of have to.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because this was stemmed from a comment my mom made yesterday and all the things she's getting sucked into on Facebook ads and all that. And I was like, Mom, all this stuff you're literally fighting for the 10% of help that this is the higher level stuff. You're just fighting for these little extra pounds when 85% of it's always the same: movement, diet, sleep. And no one's willing to do that kind of stuff. But it's almost like you shouldn't even mess with the other hacks until you've earned it. And now you're trying to just get that extra couple things. But one thing you mentioned, like structured water, what's your theory on that? Because I've been dabbling a little bit into that with the machines that create motion. And I swear to God, every time I do it, my HRV goes up on my Whoop tracker. And when I cut it, it drops back down. And there's other things I've found that do it. So I'm building my program with at least heart health.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first heard about it, I was like, what? And this is like over a couple of years ago. I interviewed someone and he was talking about it, how the heart does it through the vortexing motion. It's not really a pump and all this. And got me thinking. So anyway, so I think there's something to it when you look at some of the data and the science. And I think for me, I like to keep things as simple as possible. Like you said, there's machines, there's these funky pictures and stuff, but listening to one gal, she talks about this in her podcast. And I think it's something as simple as like, just like stirring your water, making a vortex. It's movement, kind of like moving water in how is it in nature? A waterfall, it's a river, it's movement, right? It creates electrons, create that magnetic, the charges through the electrons movement. So you do something that's spinning your water with a spoon or something, sitting outside in the sun for a little bit, or she talks about, and I've done this too, we're just intentions. Like we just think thoughts of gratitude before you drink your water. And that helps, believe it or not. And a lot of people are like, oh, come on, get out of here. But there's something to it. But just kind of like what I was talking about earlier about that mental attitude, there's a lot to that. You can change that. I was out in St. Louis at a talk at a church, a women's retreat. They had me come out and speak. And I felt like Tony Robbins. I was getting up there. I was like, look, you can change. I got up and I stood. You shout and you laugh and you smile. You do all this and like, you feel good. And they're all getting up and doing. They're like, oh my God, I feel better. Like, yeah, see, there's nothing woo woo about it. So I think with the structured water, same kind of thing. What harm is there in putting your water in the sun?
Stirring your water, yeah.
Stirring it up. It's not going to hurt anything, right? And it makes sense. Fluid, we were talking about motion, activity. Look at nature. Our nature is meant to be active, to be moving, just like our bodies. All the racing, the ancient people that are healthy, they're moving all day. The Okinawans, all these people, everybody talks about the Blue Zones, they're moving all day. They have gratitude. Their community is big. I don't know about you, but it drives me nuts when I'm outside and I see people outside just doing this, right? It's like, look up, talk to people, communicate. There's something to that. So anyway.
Well, that's the other thing with all the biohacking stuff. They pick those blue zones and the Okinawa people, and they're like, oh, we found the one compound that we think is why they hit the centurions. And you're like, yeah, it's probably that 5% of help. And then the rest is everything else you just mentioned. It's just simple stuff. Being outside, gratitude, being with nature. They're eating clean because they're having to go hunt for fish and all their stuff.
Yeah. And even like workouts, everybody gets down like, I'm just too busy. I can't work out. I'm like, look, dude, everybody's got 15 minutes a day. I don't care who you are. Everybody's got 15. You can get a killer workout in 15 minutes. I mean, if you can't come up with it, I'll create it for you. I mean, I can kick my butt in 15 minutes and it doesn't take, everybody can walk. Everybody's got that time to kill. You know what I mean? So that's not an excuse.
And that's all I promote on my channel. My style of training is more shorter workouts, time under tension, really focusing mind connection and getting that pump. And then your diet will take care of the rest. But look at me, I'm doing 3 half-hour training sessions in the gym. And then all I do is 10 minutes a day. And I just pick some random thing to do. And it could be walking with a weight vest or something. And dude, I've got better than what my 20-year-old body was. Maybe I can't lift as heavy. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to bench press 315 anymore.
Right. Exactly.
So that's my philosophy. I got more time now. And then all I really care about now is my overall health. So.
Right. Exactly. No, I heard you talk about that, like the circuits and short workouts. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I'm like, my wife's doing her CrossFit workouts for like an hour, a couple of times a week. And I'm like, I'm down the basement 20 minutes later. I'm like bebopping back upstairs. I'm like, I'm done. On to the next thing. So it's all good. It's all good, man.
So Dr. Eric, what about like going into like the hormones? Cause I am not real educated on that. I've had a few guests on my show talk about that. And obviously I always want to try to do things naturally as much as if I can get my testosterone up and my free floating testosterone up as much as I can, doing things naturally. I have no problem at some point. I see my dad and could definitely help my dad get to going back 20 years in the past. And I think that'd be a great thing.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you're seeing in that field and stuff that you've embraced with some of your clients?
Yeah, I could talk for an hour about this. I mean, so, some people are like, look, if you feel good, you have no symptoms and your labs are good, then yeah, maybe you don't need anything. And that's fantastic. I see a lot of people that are borderline and they don't realize it until I start asking questions, or they look at some blood work or both. They're like, or we do something, they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was okay, but now I feel even better kind of thing. So the biggest thing is symptoms, right? A lot of people, especially guys, get hung up on the labs, or it's like they're always asking, it's like a football game. It's like, what's the score? What's my number, doc? I'm like, whoa, how do you feel? Cause there's a lot of that up here thing. Or like if they hear it's X, but I heard it needs to be here. So therefore, I don't feel good, but do you really? It's a mental thing. So it's really, there's a lot of genetic differences. Like some guy at a level of testosterone 400 may feel awesome, based on his, what they call a genetic repeat. Other guys don't. They have to be much higher to get the same effect. So every guy's different. But like you said, to your question, like, what can I do now? What we touched on is living that clean lifestyle. Yes. Can you do it and maintain it optimally without doing anything? Probably. As you get older, it's going to take a heck of a lot more work, and it's going to get a lot more difficult, unfortunately, because like what I was talking about earlier, we're all getting inundated with all these things that are crushing our hormones. So it may get harder and harder. I mean, the core is what we talked about, right? The lifestyle. Sleep and stress are big, right? And keeping their stress levels down, eating, not doing these crazy diets, getting plenty of everything, right? Carbs, proteins, fats. You need the healthy fats. You need plenty of carbohydrates. I've always been railed against the low carb diets. I think they have their place, but a lot of people, when they don't keto or whatever for so long, they don't perform as well, and it can affect things, and that can affect your hormones. So having just a balanced whole food diet, lifting heavy things, right? And then people always ask about, what about like fasting? What about supplements and all these testosterone boosters, et cetera? Yeah, they're not going to hurt anything. And some of them can help a little bit. I mean, it's nothing like testosterone therapy or Clomid or Kaisertrex or something like that. But if you're young and you're borderline, yeah, it can nudge it up a little bit. That may be all you need. And I'd be happy to talk in more detail. But yeah, there's some things you could do naturally to maintain. And then what I always recommend is just track it over time, right? And go every year. As you get older, just track it. Track your symptoms, track your labs. And that way you'll know. Because a lot of my patients, I'm like, dude, I wish you would come to me like a year ago, or they've never had blood work done, never had a symptoms asked by a doc. They don't know what to look for, but now they know. So it's kind of like checking all your stuff in your car, right? You don't know if you don't track it. When's the last time you had your tires rotated? I don't know. So it's like, but now you can follow that trend. So when something's off, you'll know, you'll feel it, or you'll see it, or both. And you could address it and try something else. But eventually at some point it's gonna be like, I don't feel good. My numbers are down. Okay, we've tried all these things. Now it's time to optimize your hormones. It's time to do some therapy.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm living proof of everything you just mentioned, because in my 20s, tracking my testosterone, every 20-year-old guy tried to do that. My testosterone was maybe always around 500, 550, that kind of range. I never really tracked the free floating testosterone. That's why because I learned that term. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm tracking that. And because of fasting and my cleaner living and everything, I've got my testosterone, the first number, close to 800 now. Yet I don't feel as animalistic as I did in my 20s. So it's not to say that, and just like you said, like in my 20s, I was an animal. Who cares what my numbers were? You're going off of how you're feeling. I was killing it, but every 20-year-old should. So, and I understand I'm aging, but of course, everyone wants to try to go back in time a little bit. So definitely like fasting and all those things have helped. But like you mentioned, I'm more of a low carb keto. And since I've modified, I'll go a little bit higher on the carbs now.
Yeah.
And because of my social life, because that's real important to my life, I do have to do a rapid weight loss program Monday through Friday to offset what I do on weekends so I can still have the body I want. Plus, I'm going for overall health and longevity, so I take supplements and work with my doctor on that. My problem recently has been, because of this rapid weight loss diet, libido has been crashing down. And talking with my doctor, going on ChatGPT and everything, and it seems like carbohydrates is probably the reason, low cal and carbohydrates is probably the reason why that hormone shifted and swung that way. And since I've done a refeed day on Wednesdays, a little bit extra carb boost on those days, and sure enough, I feel some magic happening. So yeah, it's still within my program that I'm trying to do, and I was able to do that, but that was definitely something that worked out for me. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a couple things I want to comment on. Like one was like when you're 20s versus now. And like you said, that's a great point, because I tell guys this all the time. Like, it's not just about the testosterone, because I see a lot of guys are like, oh, I have no sex drive, or I have no drive, or I'm tired all the time, but their testosterone level is great. And because they think it's all testosterone. I'm like, to your point, your testosterone is great. You have no other symptoms of it. It's not from that. There's a lot of misconceptions that, oh, I'm tired, I have no energy, therefore it must be my testosterone. I have no sex drive, it must be my testosterone. Yes, it contributes, but that's definitely not the only thing. Because I see guys all the time, they're on therapy, they're optimized testosterone, but they still have, there's other things that cause it. A lot of other things that cause loss of sex drive, loss of energy. And those are the things that I work with them on. And they get forgotten about. All the stuff we're talking about: stress, relationship issues, dopamine pathways in your brain, toxins, infections, all these other things that people forget about. And then there's the cellular pathways. Remember, I talked about cellular medicine at the beginning. Our cells, the whole we call redox, oxidation, reduction, all this biochemistry stuff, that changes over time, right? Same with our mitochondria. We have to fight to keep them. Everybody talks about optimizing your mitochondria, because as we get older, they get dysfunctional, we lose them. So even though your testosterone was lower in your 20s, you felt great because the rest of your cells were working good. But over time, even though your testosterone is better, your cells are getting older and getting run down. So it's a balancing act, right? So to my point, there's a lot more to it than just the testosterone. So, and that's great that you're addressing all those things. And yeah, so it's all about balance, right? And you want to optimize your cellular pathways, get everything running. And it's a lot more complex. And yeah, and to your point, what you mentioned with the carbohydrates, exactly. I mean, I'm always of the mindset of like, for me, I like to keep things simple, more of a balanced diet. If you want to lose weight, you could do it quick, you could do it slow, but anything you do extreme is going to, it can work, but it can be tricky. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to just pork out and drink all weekend and then work hard all week. I'm like, why? Just go a little less hard on the weekday, party a little less hard on the weekend, balance it out. So there's all kinds of ways, but some people, it's like, well, I just can't. Okay, well, let's work with that. So, but yeah, and that's why I'm a big proponent of, I've always been more of a high carb guy, but I have a lot of patients who are low carb because they need it, but they're all tools. And I like to move them like chess pieces on a board and use them at certain times and then pull them back out and then put them back in, then pull them back out. especially if it's really extreme, it's just not going to be good long term. We're starting to see that now. People that were doing keto or carnivore or whatever fad diet, or insert blank here, over months and years, we're starting to see bad things happening, which we all, at least me and some of my colleagues, called this. And we're like, I don't know about this. So that's why balance is key. We're just rotating strategies in now. Do X for a month, go off, or whatever. There's different ways. And to your point with the carbs, it's about the leptin. Leptin is a hormone I talk about a little bit of late, and it's big in the quantum biology field that it's been studied and it's gotten forgotten about, but it's a powerful hormone. It really affects a lot of the other hormones. And that has a lot to do with that carbohydrate refeed resets the leptin receptors, resets those circadian rhythms, it affects your appetite centers in your brain, the energy. So yeah, for you, so maybe like do 2 refeeds a week, balance it out a little bit instead of going balls to the wall during the week and partying hard all weekend. Like just balance it out a little bit instead of 1 big refeed. Maybe do two small refeeds and see how you feel. You play around with it a little bit. So there's a million ways to cut it, and everybody's different, but those are different strategies. But yeah. So,
and that's what I'm doing. I'm open to all these different things, and I track everything in journals. That's my thing. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love you do that. You're a detail guy. I love that. You got the HRV, you're tracking things. I think you talked about chronometer, and so that's good. Data points are great.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Eric, I don't know where for the time we got left, do you want to, for people who have all this kind of taken care of, they're doing stuff that works for them, they're taking care of their mitochondrial health, their muscle, their diet, trying to get some clean living in the best you can. For those who got other problems and are aging and it's getting a little more advanced, what do you want to talk about? More hormonal stuff that's out there, or peptides, or a combo of both? What's new out there coming out, and what do you think is worth it?
Man, all of it, right?
Yeah.
We may have to do a part 2. I always like to start, for most people, I find the hormones are like the foundational, because it seems to be more ubiquitous in terms of the declination over time, because of everything we talked about. And that usually needs to be addressed, and often is the cornerstone, because if you try like some kind of peptide therapy or strategy and your hormones are deficient, it's probably not going to work as well. So it's a very synergistic effect. 1 + 1 = 3, right? So, and there's a lot of other additional benefits. So I'll usually start with that. And most of my patients are coming to me for some kind of hormonal issue, or I can't lose weight because XYZ. Well, no wonder your thyroid's a mess, your estrogen's a mess, your testosterone's a mess, whatever that may be. So that's a foundational point. Not everybody does. I get people that come in for very specific treatment options for a specific peptide, which will be a different protocol. But usually I'll start with that. Again, we talk about the lifestyle and all the things, and I can talk about all kinds of cool supplements too that they maybe need to think of or never tried before. There's a lot of interesting ones out there that I do to improve your cellular pathways. People talk about NAD and, like you said, autophagy. There's all kinds of stuff you could do to get that improved and improve your cellular health, improve weight loss, things like this. So I might just start with that. I'm going to put you on like a certain ketone drink. We're going to do some urolithin. We're going to do some 1-MNA, maybe some alpha-celtic to balance things out. There's a million different things, but then we'll look at the hormones and then talk about peptides. So that's usually where, again, I look at everything. With my patients, I'll do a comprehensive lab panel. I'll do a long consultation, ask them about all their symptoms, and we'll look at all their inflammatory markers, all their advanced lipids, their hormones, and see what needs to be addressed, and then just fill in the gaps. I'm going to say, and quite frankly, a lot of people are like, they need it all. They're like, man, you need all this lifestyle. You need this nutraceutical because this thing's off. You need these hormones, and you probably need these peptides too, because you're of this age, you're losing muscle, you need to lose weight quick, whatever that may be. And it's usually a tiered program. So I throw it all out there and give them like the Mac Daddy plan. Yeah. And not everybody can do it. Most people can, but occasionally some people are like, look, I just can't do all that. Just give me 1 or 2 things, and then we'll tighten it down. But if I had to pick, I'd say lifestyle, hormones. Peptides are kind of like the icing on it.
Yeah. So I love that style, because that's what I try to adopt with, just for the simple level that I'm doing, is just basic personal training and lifestyle habits. I don't have my doctorate degree, and I'm not trying to get into that realm besides suggesting to go somewhere else.
Right.
But my whole thing with diet, exercise, and all that is moving chess pieces. You don't want to do that? That's fine. I'm not going to try to push you. Maybe you'll sway over time, but there's a million different things that we can try to get to the same result. That's maybe not the healthiest option, but you're unwilling. Okay. I'm not trying to be the boot camp instructor and fight you on this. So I love that your style too is, this is what I'm thinking that we should do. And, I don't want to take hormones, or I don't want to take those peptides, or money could be a problem. Okay. If you only have so much money, then let's just nip it in the butt with these 2 supplements, and that should be good enough. So I think that's the style I like.
Yeah. And you probably see this too. People come in, they're on like 20 different workout plans, got 50 supplements. And I'm like, dude, let's pare this down for her. They're like, can you help me with this? I'm spending like $300 a month on supplements. What do I really need? I'm like, let me go through this for you. Here's what, let's trim this down a little bit. Again, I like simple. I'm just a simple guy, and I try to keep it simple, but some people are complex. They need a lot of stuff, or they might need something really heavy in the beginning. And as we clean them up, we clean up their gut, we get their inflammation down. Maybe over a couple of months, we can start pulling stuff off. Okay, you'll need this anymore. You don't need that anymore. And they feel better. So that's the goal. So, and Same with you, man. Anytime you want another opinion, I'm happy to look at your blood work or give you advice on anything you have. So just let me know, or any of your listeners for that matter. Just let me know.
Oh yeah, no, I'd definitely be interested. But just some of the things for me is like, this is how much I have in my budget. I'm spending it on supplements. Okay, well, I can take this out, vitamin C or vitamin C, zinc, make some of these things. Okay, I can, if I put effort in, I could get the food products that I need to get me there where I don't need to spend the money on this. And food products that ends up always just being cheaper if you're a budget shopper. Vitamin D, go outside more. You knock out your circadian rhythm, your vitamin D right off the bat. Now you don't need that anymore. It's crazy. So yeah, that's what I do is shuffle around stuff, try new things, and just start building my program. But I have no problem, getting advice from other people and seeing how I can tighten up the game too. So
yeah, that's perfect. And then I guess the only cautionary thing I would say for people is like, make sure you work with someone like a certified clinician. It's like, I see so many people going to like Instagram gurus or just buying stuff online. It's like, you just have to be careful because there's a lot of charlatans, a lot of crap out there, even companies that say their stuff pure and blah, blah, blah. It's like the only stuff I only get is from the pharmacies, and because I know it's pure, it's been certified. I mean, are you going to be okay most of the time? Probably. I'm not going to do it. My patients aren't going to do it. So just be careful. You make sure you work with someone who's trained. Like if you're going with a trainer, make sure they know what they're doing. They've got experience. They've got certification. Same with a doc or a clinician. Don't take, what medicine, tell me about my labs from someone who has no medical training. There's some people out there that do it and they know what they're doing, but it's just one of those things. That's just me. I just be careful because there's a lot of stuff out there. So
yeah, be careful. Get second, third opinions as with everything in life. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Due diligence is key, man.
Well, Dr. Eric, I just want to thank you again for being on my show. For people who want to reach out to you, who are interested in working with you, your website, social media, and also what kind of different plans do you have out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the meat and potatoes is my website, Dr. Eric PrimeX, DrEricPrimex.com. I've got a ton of stuff there. And under my shop, I've got some of my own products. I got my own protein, and I've got a bunch of ebooks. I've got a lot of free stuff on there too, some free downloads, some free ebooks. My YouTube channel has probably the most like long form content, Dr. Eric PrimeX. Fine, I've got tons of videos. Dr. Eric Fate on Instagram, the Muscle Doc, Facebook page, same thing, Eric Fate or Dr. Eric PrimeX. Most people find me on social or just go to my website.
Yeah. And then in working with you, is it mostly just like Zoom consults or is it?
Yeah. So I do telehealth all across the country. I got my license and gosh, I don't even know now, like over 20 something states. So yeah, I'll typically do what we're doing. I'll do set up a Zoom consultation on my lab work. I can order from afar. I just work with my patients directly. I don't bill insurance. I keep it super simple like that. I send them a requisition form. They print it out. They take it to the lab center and then I'll get results within a week or less. And then we'll jump on a Zoom call. We'll spend like an hour on the call. I'll go through everything. And I'll put together a whole plan with them, whether they work with me or not. I'll say, here's some actionable points you can do. I'd love for you to work with me. Here's how it's going to work moving forward. If you don't want it to, or you just want to do what I said and go work with someone else, go for it. At least they learn something. They got some value.
The same way. I just give information for free and whoever vibes and wants, I just love to help. So
exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. If anybody wants to reach out, just check me out. I'm happy to help.
All right. Very cool. And as my audience knows, I put everything in the show notes. I'll put all the links, everything you just said, and just make it easier. And Dr. Eric, I just appreciate what you're doing and your level of expertise. And I just love doing my podcast because I get to meet people out there.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, same here. So yeah, I've been working on building my podcast too, the Relentless Vitality podcast. So I'll have to get you on maybe sometime. But thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. And for all the listeners out there, have a great week. Thank you, Brad.